right, a very heated discussion happened out of there. I think everybody thoroughly enjoyed it, including myself. But now we're going to some different turn out of here. We're going to talk about institutional grade blockchains. With me, I have Iqbal Ali Khan. He's part of IBM and is going to share his views, what is going on in the bigger blockchains, the institutional grade blockchains. And next to him is Fatima, who's part of Do Blockchain. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming on our talk show, where we are live streaming this for the last 4 hours and having now up to 30 people basically coming through. So it's been a very, very exciting week actually, as the World Blockchain Week is happening behind us in Emirates Towers World Blockchain Summit, and earlier this week we had World STO Summit in Dusit Thani. So Fatima, I want to start off with you. How was Abu Dhabi? Because there is also some activity happening around fintechs.
Yes, so it was super crowded in the morning. A lot of visitors, a lot of startups also. It was very nice talking about the STOs and how to tokenize the entire world. So it was really good. Nice event.
Thank you. Iqbal, have you been also going to Abu Dhabi or?
I haven't been going. I went there this afternoon.
Okay.
I was there for a while this afternoon. Got to see some of the people. I've also actually been interacting with quite a few of them because I've met them at different places, and then we're starting to do some work together. And so I know some of them before as well.
So I was doing some research, and I saw in 2016 you were giving a keynote about the use case of blockchain, and how you as a digital thinker basically thinks about technology, how it's going to be used in different scenarios. It was very interesting to see that that 2016 keynote which you gave is very prevalent still today.
Yes, actually, that was actually a very interesting one. That was the early days, and that was the first blockchain event that took place in the UAE, and I had the pleasure of actually presenting on that keynote. So the thing is that it from then to today, the concept of blockchain and the way that it is being adopted and looked at has changed significantly, and it's become more prevalent from an understanding perspective. And I think your previous panelists would not be very happy with this. My next comment, that it's not just a matter of currency. Currency is just one element of it. The real value of it comes across when you use it in transactions, and how it can facilitate the transactions. And that's the opportunity that people have started to realize. However, putting it into practice is a different effort. And it related to that, actually, we've taken some initiatives in the UAE. We've deployed 2 blockchain platforms in the UAE, and now we're in the process of upgrading it. And that's what's keeping me up at night these days. But that is a process, and hopefully in another month or so, we're going to be announcing that. So when you think about the blockchain, the actual application of the blockchain to existing processes and existing companies, you have to think about it that it's not just a matter of replacing your databases. You have to rethink your whole data structure. You have to rethink your processes. One of the first shocks that people got when we started talking to them about how it's going to impact supply chain and trade finance is that a lot of the systems that you have today are going to be sunset. I said, wait a minute, what does that mean? But that's really what it means. You have to change the way that you're doing business today. And then there's parallel processing that you've got to think about. There's stream processing that you have to think about. So you've got multiple efforts that you have to put in place to get an efficient structure going. And that's something that people have a challenge getting their head around.
Got it. So, Fatma, earlier I asked basically Consensus to be part of it, and we were discussing basically the subject, and at that time they said, "Oh, Fatma is coming," so then we don't need to come. They did come, but we put them on a different panel basically. As you might know, Consensus has released its Codify, which is basically going to have this decentralized finance kind of applications. Making that ready basically for usage. But at the same time, the people from Consensus were very much like, Fatma is the right person to be on your panel to talk about what's going on in the blockchain space or in the do blockchain space, because I can remember in January of this year there was a big press conference at the Unlock Blockchain Summit where Mr. Jihad basically had announced about do blockchain. So how's the journey been for you guys?
So we started early 2017 with different POCs in healthcare industry, and then by end of 2018 we realized that it's better to build a platform for our customers, for the government entities and for the large enterprises, for them to leverage the technology fast and facilitate also different features and capabilities. So from here got the idea of having the blockchain platform as a service, and we started then engaging with Consensus to be our development arm. So in building the blockchain platform as a service. The idea of having the platform is not like the others competitors. So we did the proper market research. What will be our market opportunity and our market strengths as well, and based on that we built the platform. The platform is a package of features and capabilities, not only just leverage blockchain in blockchain networks in just a couple of minutes and create your blockchain nodes. This is not the end, or this is the target that we are planning to do. But we build also features and some tools for the developers to leverage, such as a smart contract as a service. So now our customers, they don't need to build the smart contracts. They build their own blockchain network. However, they can ask us to build on their behalf the smart contract. We also build the smart contract ready library. So they can just get the smart contract, change the parameters, do the compiler from the same platform, and just install it in their node. And many more. We also put some protocols that it's not exist in the market in the current platforms with the other competitors, like Corda. So all the financial institutions, they are looking for Corda. So this one of the protocols that our platform supports. Also Hyperledger Beso, which is the newest Hyperledger Ethereum client. That's also one of the protocols, and actually this is a Consensus product, by the way. That our platform supports. Different features from the protocol layer and also from the application layer, where we build a completely smart tool where you can build a complete end-to-end app from no code, just drag and drop.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really phenomenal. Looking at the implementations right now, how's that going here in Dubai? Is Do Blockchain only in Dubai, or is it GCC related or MENA related, as it goes far as implementation of blockchains?
So we host the platform here in our cloud, which is the locally hosted here in UAE. However, we support all the cloud providers. So you can host your blockchain node anywhere on our cloud. Of course, we recommend that. But if you have the choice of having it on Azure, most welcome. You want it on AWS, you want it on your data center, if it's federal entity, and you want it on-prem, this also we support. So we are open for anyone, actually. This is mature cloud service, where you can build your blockchain node and host it anywhere, your business running from US, running your business from UAE. This is not a concern.
Got it. That's really wonderful. Iqbal, I always, when I talk about IBM, then I usually get Hyperledger in. It's, of course, nowadays it's part of the Linux Foundation.
Right.
But at the same time, I always think that, being in, if I would be a consultant within IBM, I'd be 100% using Hyperledger. Is this the case actually right now?
So no, actually, Hyperledger. So a little bit of history. So when we started looking at this, we went out and we looked at everybody's, all of the people that had some blockchain initiative, and we looked at their strategies. We looked at the way that they were thinking about it, and we found that the Linux Foundation had the best sort of thought put around it. So it's always been a Linux Foundation platform, and there are, that Hyperledger has got 5 flavors, and Hyperledger Fabric is the one that we've invested the most in. But it's just from our consulting practice. If you go and look at our consulting practice, we're agnostic. We would work with any technology on the consulting practice. As a matter of fact, they've been doing quite a bit of work with Corda. They've done work with Ethereum. So from the consulting practice, it's absolutely agnostic. Some of the other initiatives that we're doing,
Yes.
they are driven by. So we've got 4 networks that are out there. Food Trust is one of them. Trade Lens is one of them. And then a lot of the networks that our clients are asking us to build. Because most of our clients, when they're governments and they're financial institutions, they want closed nets, permissioned environments. They would look at what Hyperledger Fabric has to offer, and they choose that. Another thing to think about on the Hyperledger Fabric is that there are over 255 members of Hyperledger Fabric, and they all give consensus and they all give feedback as to what are the use cases that they want to drive, what are the functionalities that they want to have. So there is a whole lot of thought that goes on into what is the next iteration of Hyperledger and what is it going to include, what the prioritization of that's going to be. So that's another reason why a lot of institutions tend to go for Hyperledger.
Got it. Fatma, institutions obviously need that kind of security as well when it comes to data in their backend. How do you see going forward? Basically, how do institutions basically look at your business model, which is unique in a way out of here?
Yeah. So different customers having first of all the use case identification, and then thinking about where we host this use case after building the use case, where the data will be saved. So again, the choice will be locally hosted, disk compliant, having the security regulation. Is it ISR compliant? Is it for the solution or for the application itself? Is it GDPR compliant? Handling the customer data, and so on. And again, the answer will be yes, host your data locally. If the customer exists here in UAE, host the data locally, having on cloud service that it is this compliant, compliant from the country regulations, and also secured from the ISR compliant as well. So again, the answer will be on our cloud. However, we also open for the other choices.
Got it.
So the institutions, their choice will be our cloud. But if they have no issue with going to the any public cloud providers, we also open for that.
Got it. So Iqbal, if you look at the projects which are happening, Dubai is very pro getting its government basically on blockchain. Or the first phase, of course, is always paperless. So how is IBM, going in helping basically the government of Dubai achieving this big goal?
So the first step was helping out in the strategy, and we built a strategy for Dubai Smart Government, and then there have been a number of other initiatives that we've started. We're actually, some of them are not disclosed, so can't talk about it. that we're building out for different entities. We're also building out there's a cross-border cryptocurrency structure that's been put in place between UAE and Saudi Arabia. So we're building that for them as well. In addition to that, to support their requirements, we actually set up two IBPs that's the IBM blockchain platform in the UAE to create a local cloud environment for them. We've got garage that is set up here in Dubai, and the garage we've got now we've got about 45 garages across the globe, but Dubai was the 8th garage that we actually launched, and so it's a blockchain garage, but then there's an AI garage and there is a cloud garage. So all of those garages are there. They're sort of combined together. And then we've got people from all over the world who are specialists in particular areas. So when we get a garage together and we've got a client who's coming in, then we interact with them with our industry experience from across the globe. And we've got specialists around the garage that will help them identify what it is that they want to achieve, how is the best way to achieve it. We spend over $6 billion a year on research and development, and we have our labs that get involved in this.
That's huge.
So that is also there. So when we do a blockchain, actually, I can't think of any major blockchain initiatives that we've taken where the lab has not been involved.
Okay.
So now that could be a lab from Japan, that could be a lab from Australia, could be a lab from the US, from Zurich. It depends on what skill set you particularly need at that time, and they will pull that in.
Got it.
So there's and all of that is available through the garage here for anybody and everybody who is participating in building a blockchain network.
Got it. So if I may, summarize it in a way, a garage is a place where they have specialized knowledge all put together so that a region could be serviced basically by that.
Yes, and the concept comes from all of the internet companies that started off in the garages of the particular owners, right? So, but the environment is created that way. It's an open environment. It's a fresh environment. It's an environment that you can be interactive with. You can write anywhere on the walls. You can draw anywhere. You've got different boards and things that you can bring in, huge screens. So, it's an environment where you can be interactive.
So
and
it is
you try to.
innovation.
It's like an innovation hub. Yes.
Very nice.
And then we call, we get the clients from out of their environment where they work every day, and we bring them into this environment where they can be sort of freer to think about the things. And depending on what you're doing, if you're government, you're in the petroleum area or you're in the water area, we'll have certain things that we've done in different places. So we'll have either screens showing different ideas. We'll have different things that we'll have a speaker that will talk to them either in person or a live feed. So we'll keep it so that they will be interactive. They will be thinking outside the box to be able to drive and create something which is best in class for them.
Got it. Iqbal, first, one question before I go to Fatma is, how do you view these fintechs? Abu Dhabi is having a huge fintech a get-together where from in the region and outside the region, basically, companies have seen. How do you view this as being, you are, IBM is a huge company. How do you view these small startups as such? Do you get inspiration from them? Or how does that?
So it's a very interesting thing. So I'm actually a banker by training. So I started my career with banking, and but I got bored of that environment of banking, and I got into management consulting, and then that's how I got into IBM. IBM has been in the early 2000s, when their internet phase was there, so IBM was very interactive and setting up, that whole environment even within IBM. So I remember I used to be working out of the Chicago office, and we have a whole building on State Street in Chicago. And the person who was responsible for the internet lab at that time, he wanted to, there were 2 floors, and he wanted his area to be glass floored so that you could look from the top to the lower floor. And the architect had to tell him, listen, that's not possible. You can't break the floor in an existing building and then try to rebuild it. But that's just to give you a perspective of what the thinking around that is. And even now, when we look at this, we have something called GTO, Global Technology Outlook, and where we take these people who've been with IBM 30 odd years out of the field, so technologists and business people, and then we've taken them to a part of IBM headquarters, and we give them the technology that's coming out today, and we ask them to predict how is this technology going to be used, 10 years henceforth. So we're constantly trying to rediscover and restructure ourselves. We've been through, it used to be 10 years that every time IBM recreated itself. Now that is shrinking, and it's going to be like 5 years, and going forward it might be 3 years when we have to recreate ourselves. So we actually look at the fintechs and we say, okay, that's a really interesting perspective. How can we help you move this thing forward?
Got it.
So we're working with a lot of fintechs, giving them, the structure of how to use existing technology or how to make the use of new technology faster and better.
Fatma, how do you look at fintechs? So many startups again, and there's a lot of money, actually, VC money coming in, who is supporting this ecosystem.
Yes. So I see the fintechs or the startups in general very agile. So having this agility in the young generation, also the outcome will be a very strong solution, because the way they think, the way they work, it's much more, faster and even better than us. So they are working maybe overnight and all the day, and they believe in their ideas and they build it. For the fintechs and startups, yes, we actually select different solutions or different startups, and we will start to evaluate them, and after that we will adapt one of the solutions.
Fatma, Iqbal, thank you so much for coming on to this panel to talk about what is happening in your world. And thank you so much, and we hope to see you guys soon again.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.